actually noticed and I admired Taryn for quite a while before we actually spoke. The first time we spoke was I went to get my hair done for the first time, and coincidentally she was in salon at the same time. I was very surprised because I was admiring her a lot.
You've been stalking me for 2 years. Stalking me, and I didn't know.
So I greeted her, asked her if she knows me. She looked at me and I can't remember her answer was.
I just went no, you didn't register to me. I just said no.
Yeah. Anyhow, I marked the day, literally, because when I went home that day, I noted it in a book that I had. And I had a cousin that was living with me at the time, and I told him, I met this girl today. And I was like crazy about the idea. And he didn't get it, you know. He was like waiting to hear what else. You just met this girl today. But he couldn't understand what was conceived.
I later discovered this guy he had a notebook and he would write down the dates when I would talk to him or say hi to him.
I felt something, you know. I felt something was coming on, you know. I guess I was hoping so much, so it was important to me. And I did.
Our love story began, at our church. I just started going to the church, and I love children. So I was involved with youth ministry, not with ministry per se, but Royal Rangers. So her son, Shaquille, the bigger one, he comes to Royal Rangers, and after church and so on, I would, just escort him home because he just lived a couple houses away from the church. So I fell in love with him, and this one day I saw this beautiful girl coming on the street, and I was like, who's this girl? And then my friend said to me, hey, you should kill mother. And I was like, I should kill mother. And that was it, from since then, I slapped her and love at first sight or infatuation, I don't know which one. But I was mesmerized by how she looked, and she was quiet, and and that's what I was really looking for. So I take the first step. I try to find out all things that's around her, and just move in the interest of her son a bit, and then met her, So that's it. That's how we met, and that's how I fell in love with her.
How we met? To start with, we were members of the same church, so that connection was there. Just that connection. But then I had my personal story. She had her personal story, and these two stories came together and formed this one love story. I was messing up. I told God, I'm making all the wrong decision. Let me put this decision in your hands, right? So, not too long after, we were in the same YM committee, youth department, and a couple of times because of meetings, I would drop her home, and it struck me how this girl could speak, her conversation. I could relate to it. We could have good conversation, and that's where it started for me, right? That we have a lot of things in common, a lot of principle in common, and that's E for me, right? Principles. And then we said, hey, what? That's unofficially. But I called her, I started to message her, ask her how she doing, so on. We messaged back. And from there, we decided we can take a walk somewhere. And there's where it started. To me, it's as if God wasn't wasting time with us. He wanted us to be together, and he just fast forwarded things. And it's like, what I had in my mind for the type of person right? God restructured it, and I am so in love with this woman, right? It's like she's my Sonia, you know? Like I can't, like what was in the past is just in the past, and it's nothing to be erupted. And so I'm in love with Sonia.
Right. I think it's the year is 2005.
7.
No, 2005 was the first time.
For that for you.
So, I started my degree program in 2005, and when I went into the class, this is the first class, first semester, and as usual, some of the things that guys do, they look at all the pretty girls in the class, and I recall that Dara was one of the prettier ones, and that was 2005. I left it at that. I think I spoke to her once, second semester 2005, and all I said was, penny for your thoughts. That was about it. In 2007, I think we had an assignment that we were doing, and we had to complete that assignment, and from that assignment we started to talk. And it's quite interesting, how the talk started, because I think the day I missed class, and she was like, this is in Yahoo chat days, so she was like, you weren't there, what's happening? And I was working part-time, so I basically was school, work, home, school, work, home.
It took me about a couple months to get her number. And I actually got it based on a friend link. I went to her workplace today, and one of my friends used to work with, she's actually working, and I saw the friend and I was like, you know Lashana? And she was like, yeah, we work in the same place. And I was like, okay. So I got something to hold up on to propel off of. I was trying to find a way to get her number. I got so far by getting her friend's number. So I turned my face away from her. Or no, not literally turned, but she was like standing right there. And I was, standing here, and I was like, could you please say your number to me? Like, I was so afraid. I was like, if she said no, how am I gonna bounce back from this, and she was like, okay. She freeze for a bit, and I was like, oh no, please don't say no, please don't say no. And then she was like, okay, my number is, and I was like, I was punching the number, like I don't know what I was punching, but I was punching something. So I got the number, but lo and behold, I lost the number. So I don't know what happened today, but after that I think, how yeah, I was so excited. So I can't remember how I got back the number. Or you give it back? Yeah, I think she can't remember. I got it back.
School opens and she passed me straight. Like she never met me before. Anyhow, I kept on noticing her, waiting for the right time to speak to her. And one day she was in the library with her friends studying, and I went up to her and greeted her and asked her if she had remembered my name. She didn't.
Nope. This was the first time he registered to me. So I turned to my friend and I said, he's kind of cute. She was like, he never registered before. I just saw him. It was as if I saw him for the first time in that moment. She just looked at me like, we're supposed to be studying, just get back to it. And then a few seconds later, he's sitting at the table and he's like, do you remember my name? And I'm like, nope. And it just kind of started from there.
I was at the level where I knew what time she would go into the library to study. I have an idea what time she would come out to get something to eat, and what time she left to go home. So I kind of worked with that schedule. I started studying around that time, So we would both be in the library. And she started to notice me then, I guess.
From that day, something just, I don't know. You know, I always tell people something in you clicks when you've met that person. At least there's a point when you just know, oh my goodness, there's something different about this interaction. In that moment, he sat down there and he asked me if I remembered his name, and something just clicked. It was, and I was looking for, I've always been this kind of hopeless romantic. So I did not want this sort of, oh, this person is suitable to me, I'm suitable to you, let's try to be in a relationship. I never wanted that. I wanted the stars in the eyes, the fluttery butterflies, and all of it. And I was looking for that magic spark. And in that moment, honestly, it just happened instantly.
How the story started for me was, it was a Pastor's Appreciation Day, so which would have been in October, and we, at the morning session, Pastor was encouraging us to all come back the night, and since it's Pastor's Appreciation Day, this is the one thing that he wanted us to do. So I came back the night, and I remember thinking how, you know, it was so nice to be in the presence of God. And Pastor said these words, any one thing that you ask God for tonight, I'm going to give it to you. You just ask him for one thing and I'm going to give it, he's going to give it to us. And I was like, you know, God, I think I'm ready to have a serious relationship. And Andre started to message me. So I would later find out that he was at a wedding the night before, a friend's wedding that I couldn't go to because I had to work. So he was at the wedding the night before, and two people at the wedding told him that they have somebody, he should be next, and they have somebody in mind for him. So apparently they showed him my picture and told him that this was the girl for him. And so Andre sent me a text, and that first text, I'll never forget it, he said, you outshine all the women around me. And I was like, okay, God, you don't waste time. Because this was, I did that, we did the prayer, it's usually just 1 hour, so I was out there by 7. And by 7:30, I was getting these messages. Now, many, many years before that, I met Andre on campus, and again, I'm surprised to hear him say it was because of how I spoke. But I met Andre on campus, and I just was in his presence, and he was talking to somebody else, didn't even notice I was there because I didn't speak to him or we didn't have a conversation. And just the way that he was talking about the Lord and his love for the Lord just stood out to me. And I remember asking a friend after that meeting, you know, who's this guy? And then she was like, well, you know, he goes to your church. I'm like, I've never seen him, but God just worked it all out in the end. And like he said, it was all fast forward. That was the end of October. By the 7th of December, we had an official relationship. The 7th of November, we had an official relationship. And he just at that moment did all the things. You know, as a girl, you would have a list of things that you want in a guy and a list of things that he must do. Andre was just ticking all those boxes for me. So the list of things that I had for a guy was, first of all, this guy had to be very close to 30, 1, and 2, he had to actually ask me to be in a relationship with him. And the third thing was that he really had to love the Lord. So those were the 3 things that I could remember outside of the box that needed to be in place. And on the 7th of November, Andre asked me to be his girlfriend. Like literally did the whole thing of asking that question. And for me, that was like thing number 2 ticked. And of course, I already knew that he was in love with the Lord from the conversations that we had. So, and he was 29. Remember, I said a prayer, and I really believed that God was going to answer that prayer because of how it was set and how the scene was set. So it just so happened that God answered the prayer. So everything that happened after that, I was just really sure that this was the one. And that's what built our love story. And I think that's what made it so fast track, because as he was indicating, for him, it wasn't a case where he he had handed it over to God. He said that, you know, the desires that he had, they were all leading him down the wrong path or to the wrong person, or it just wasn't working out. And when he handed it over to the Lord, there I walked into his life. So we always believe that this was orchestrated in heaven.
There was a holiday coming up, and so
I think it was MASH.
some one of the holidays, and she says that I invited myself over. I disagree. I just, you know, she said she was celebrating Hula, and I say, man,
Yes, I'm celebrating Hula.
what better, you know? So, I think what happened the Saturday I worked, and what is happening? Oh, I went and bought a few DVDs.
Back in this time.
Called her, say what you doing, and that was the first time I went over by her. From then on, it was like, you know, you're talking, you're like, okay, what's happening here, what's happening?
Yeah,
And you know that feeling that, you know, you're falling really hard for somebody. So that is what was happening.
You try to avoid it, like, okay, we're not getting into that. But not saying it to each other, just. So after he left that day, I closed the door. I was like, okay, what's going on? This is nice. This is a nice feeling to, you know, he made me feel nice. It was refreshing. And we continued talking. The Monday was a success. The lunch, it was a success.
I asked for seconds.
Second, yes, we asked for seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was big chicken involved and some mackerel and cheese. Something I can't remember.
We had this scenario a day. A couple of our friends reached up at the house, and one of his daughter was very close. She used to plait their hair, go over by the house and braid their hair. So for me, I used to be like, hey, Lashana gonna make it. I got to murder Lashana. And the girl actually carried back the message and tell Lashana. And her words were,
That will never happen.
and I was saying, I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna get to marry Lashana. And she said that I will
Pray till you die.
I'm gonna pray till I die. So, when I got back the message, that feedback, and I got it back, I was like, Lashana said, they're not gonna do me. I'm still gonna go, and
Coming on to the end, I think I talked with her again, and it was interesting. I remember it because it's very clear. We just finished talking, and she left. She went up east on the health sciences east. I went across by arts, and clear as day. It's like if I heard a voice said, "You just met your wife." It's quite interesting. I think I told her that just before we got married.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's that connotations where guys try to say, you know, God tell me that, you know, you're for me. But I didn't tell her that till we got married. So, and I would say here we are 7 years later. Well, it's 11 years.
11 years since 2007.
That's how it's been, because we ended up having a long distance relationship. After she graduated, she left.
I left. I had to leave.
You know, so she was in Barbados, I was here.
Yeah.
And we kept in contact. We made sure, I think you were reflecting that I don't think there's a day that's gone that since 2007 where we have not talked to each other.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot of talking.
A lot of talking.